Long ago and far away, there was a little village by a lakeside. A number of stone houses, little huts with thatched roofs. The people farmed and fished. It was a happy village. People came and went, and occasionally travellers arrived. And sometimes there were markets with bright-coloured produce sold to the people locally. And every so often there would be a gathering. And at the gathering, people would collect and they would discuss things like how many fish had been caught that week or how the wheat was growing and how to deal with the naughty children in the village. And mostly these gatherings were very happy and people sung and they liked meeting each other. But one day, at the end of a very stormy period in late summer, the gathering was not so happy. People stood there and somehow things had gone wrong. The crops were not doing well. All the old boats of the fishermen, which were old boats, were starting to spring leaks. Well, those things could be sorted out, but somehow everyone seemed very grumpy. And towards the end of the meeting, a man stood up and he said, "I want to say that we are not happy today. We've not been happy for a while. We've lost our peace of mind." People listened and thought about it for a moment, and there was a murmur of agreement. And the chief elder stood up and he said, "Yes, Jacob, I think I have to agree with you. We have, as a village, lost our peace of mind. And I will have to go away and think about how we can find that." Well, the meeting dissolved. Overnight, the chief elder lay tossing in bed and eventually he came up with a solution. And the next morning, he gathered a few people he felt he could rely on and collected a few donkeys, and they packed food and drink and shelter for a journey of a few days. This was a delegation that was going to walk up over the high hills to the great city beyond. Because in the great city, surely, there would be some peace of mind that could be bought. So the group of men with the donkeys set off with their money to buy peace of mind. And they travelled all day and camped at night and sat round a campfire telling stories. And then they travelled on the next day and the next day. And eventually, far in the distance, they could see the gleaming spires of the great city. White marble shone in the sunshine. And within a few hours, they were outside the gates of the great city. And they set up camp. And the next morning, they went in across the little moat into the gates of the great city. They split up because actually they didn't really know quite what peace of mind looked like, and they felt they might have to look for it in different places. And one, for example, went and walked among the pillars of the temple, feeling the peace there, looking for peace of mind. Another climbed one of the high spires up the nearest he could get to the gods in the sky. And another sat among the people who were resting outside the temple, smoking their pipes, enjoying the sunshine. And they kept looking round for peace of mind. And of course, word got round the great city that there were some people from the far-off village looking to purchase peace of mind with some money with them. And it did not take long for the cheats and the tricksters to find these people. one of them grabbed one of the villagers and he said, am I right that you're looking to buy some peace of mind? The villager turned round. Well, yes, I am. And the man said, well, as it just happens, I've got some on special offer today. The villager said, yes, I will bring my companions tomorrow and we will buy some of this peace of mind. And that night, the delegation of villagers were so excited they were going to find their peace of mind. And they collected up their money and they went to meet up with this man who had the peace of mind. Well, overnight, the man found a box, a little cheap box, and he painted it in bright colours and gilded the edges. And when he met the villagers, he handed it to them. Oh, yes, and he picked up 3 pebbles and put them in a little bag inside the box. And when he met the villagers, he handed them the box. And he said, one thing I must tell you, you must not open this box until you get back to your village, for otherwise you will lose the power of the peace of mind. Where's my money? And he walked off with his money. And the villagers packed the box in the bags and set off again over the hills. They were excited. But as they travelled, maybe in the minds of maybe 1 or 2 of them was what's in this box? And maybe I deserve some of this peace of mind because I've put so much effort into going to look for it. They travelled on, and the last night they camped near some old ruins. And during that night, 3 of the men separately got up from their mattresses and went and took the box out and opened it. And each took out separately 1 pebble. He thought he was putting a gemstone in his pocket, put the box back, but of course there was a problem for the last one, because if he took the pebble, there would be nothing left. Well, there were big beetles wandering around on the ground in the ruins, and he just picked up a big beetle and put it in the leather bag and put it back in the box. And they were pleased with the box. It seemed to have changed, but of course that was something to do with its magical properties. Anyway, they walked back to the village. When they reached the village, the elder was there in his fine silks with a silver tray, and he placed the box on the tray. And they carried it into the largest of all the huts, and all the villagers came in, and the door was shut. And the elder opened the box, and he had only just opened it a tiny crack when the beetle ran out, right down his sleeve, right down inside his clothes, and right down to the floor. Well, people saw that something had gone, but they didn't see what it was. And they were devastated. All this money had been paid for this thing that had gone. And they looked far and wide. They saw a beetle, but there were lots of beetles anyway. And they looked far and wide. And they couldn't find it. And they went back to their homes that night so sad. But during the night, the elder again had a thought. And the next morning he called everyone to him. And he said, the peace of mind is still in that hut. We will call that hut the place of peace. And so it was that from then on, whenever anyone wanted a little bit of peace of mind, they would go and sit in the hut. And whether they sat for 5 minutes or an hour, they would come out of that hut feeling more peaceful. And it's said that after many years that hut became a church. And so to this day, people who want a bit of peace of mind perhaps go to the same place.